Have you ever looked around at your life, the career, the home, the achievements, and thought, why do I still feel so unfulfilled? I get it because I was there too. And if you're unfulfilled, craving more, or going through a pivot, planned or unplanned, here's what I want you to know for sure. You have a wonderful, a powerful opportunity to reset, to realign, and to redefine your life. And today I'm going to share the biggest lessons I've learned from my own journey. And if you're new to the channel, hey there, my name is Anita. I am a soul strategist and success coach, passionate about empowering ambitious, heart-centered individuals like you to redefine success so that it feels soulful, a concept I call soulful success, creating a life that feels authentic, aligned, and abundant, something that feels as good on the inside as it does on the outside. I work with people one-on-one, through my private coaching, group coaching programs. I have two. The Soulful Success Academy is one of my flagship programs, and it's opening up enrollment very soon in September. I created and host the Ignite Your Light Summit, which happens a few times a year. We have our next one coming up in September 13th and 14th. So information is in the episode description. I do workshops, speak on stages. I've written a best-selling book, all the things. So check out the episode description, get to know me further, and welcome to our community. Back to the episode. I know what it feels like to do everything right, to check all the boxes, to achieve, and also to still feel empty. And I also know how to build a life that actually feels authentic, aligned, and abundant, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing my story with you. At age 42, after more than a decade in a career that I had worked my way up in, starting from the bottom, climbing the ladder, achieving one milestone after another, just like I thought I was supposed to, I suddenly found myself restructured. And friends, that really shook me because a lot of my identity was tied up in that job. And there was a lot of complex emotions like shame, and I felt like a failure. And it really made me think, like, if I'm not this job, who am I? You see, up until then, I had been a straight A student, a dean's honors list pupil, class president, the go-getter, the perfectionist, the one who always did the right things and played by the rules. And for the first time, I actually had to pause and face the question of, what do I really want? And as hard as that time was for me, that restructure turned out to be my biggest blessing, one of my biggest blessings, because it gave me an opportunity in my 40s to figure out what I truly wanted to be when I grow up. Not what I thought I should be or what others expected me to be, or not necessarily just taking those next steps on autopilot because that was what I felt was like logical to do. It actually was a forced reset, a chance to evaluate what was important to me and also how I wanted to live my life moving forward. So it gave me permission to recreate myself, and it also gave me permission to be more intentional. And that is hard to come by when we're just going through the motions and living a very hustle and bustle type of life. And truth be told, interestingly, even before the restructure, I had already started following little nudges. See, I felt like I was meant for more, and I was feeling like I was in a bit of a rut. And so to get myself out of that, to lean into my curiosity, to lean into my joy, I'm a lifelong learner and a multi-passionate. I started signing up for courses for fun, right? Courses like on how to build a book. I joined a writers community with a very prestigious global publishing house. I took courses and took in a lot of information on coaching and how to become a coach, how to build a digital business. And I aligned myself with some really, really big names and experts and influential people to help garner this expertise just for the joy of learning. So I wonder if somewhere deep down, I knew that this was the direction I wanted to go, but I was just too scared to take the plunge. I was really following my passion and my joy and my curiosity. And while I was fueling my spark this way, when it came to my 9 to 5, it actually wasn't terrible or bad. I found the work to be deeply fulfilling, and I was really good at my job, and I loved the people I worked with. There were some times of change, a lot of leadership changes and all that kind of thing. And so I wasn't really quite sure what the new philosophy or vision would be looking like for the company. So there was a lot of unknowns, and a lot of people were leaving because of those unknowns. And so in some ways, I felt like I was already losing my family and losing the connection to the place that it once was. But the work was deeply meaningful and I loved it. And I also felt like I had grown so much in that company. So I had a lot of loyalty as well. So when the universe gave me the push, like literally by giving me that restructure, I took it. And I took it scared and unsure. I didn't really have much of a choice, right? At that time, I had 2 young kids at home and a so-called forever home mortgage that was weighing on me. So I felt very anxious. I felt very scared. I felt very overwhelmed. I did not know what was going to happen or what my next steps were. But step by step, I walked a new path. And that's when my journey with soulful success truly began. Before I move any further, I do want to stop and say that when I was thinking about who I'm going to be in this 2.0 version of me and when I get to call myself, I want to assure you that, all of the different pieces of me came into this iteration that you're seeing today. And I did not come up with the term soulful success. It has existed based on my research. However, my definition of soulful success is incredibly unique. And that is the definition that I talked about in the intro. So if you're timestamping, you can go back to the intro spiel to get that description. But essentially, that was where my journey began. It was the time where I got to redefine myself, got to create an identity and truly define what success meant to me. And to me, it was something that was me being myself, me being authentic, me being aligned to my values, my purpose, my dreams, what I treasure and cherish the most. And creating a life from that space so I could really truly open up to all the abundance that life has to offer. And so that meant broadening that definition of success and largely internalizing it versus externalizing it. So that term, soulful success, is not my own, but that definition absolutely is. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into some of the lessons I've learned about success since then. So the first one being, there's no one size fits all definition of success. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I really want to hammer down the point that we're not meant to want or be the same things. And if we did, imagine the world, like it would just be full of just the one thing. We all want to be doctors. We all want to be teachers. All want to be astronauts. Or if you think of like a gelato bar or an ice cream bar, everybody would be vanilla. And that would just be such a boring place, not to mention like there's so much opportunity. What about the richness of chocolate or the sweetness of strawberry, right? The second lesson I'd like to share with you is that your version of success is allowed to change. And this is something that I kind of really struggled with initially, and I see it as a resistance point with the people that I work with as well. But we're allowed to change. We evolve. We're not the same person we were 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago. And we're not going to be, by definition, the same person 5, 10, or 15 years from now. Every experience, life in general, helps shape our choices, helps shape our thoughts. When you think about the fact that you have changed so much, even from like 5 years ago, I do think your definition of success would stay the same. It's very common to outgrow that definition of success. It's very common to subscribe to something even though it's outdated, or maybe it wasn't even yours to begin with. Like a lot of people do the thing because they want to feel liked, they want to feel loved, they want to feel belonging. These are universal human needs. And so society tells you to go down a certain path, your family tells you to go down a certain path, or your ancestral group tells you to go down a certain path. So sometimes there's a lot of pressures that are shaping our decisions, and maybe we're not even aware when we're really young and making some of these decisions what all those options are. We haven't had the opportunity to be curious and to explore. And so we blindly go down a path thinking that that's our vision, but it isn't. And maybe you find that out a little bit later, and then you feel like it's too late. So it's really important to give yourself that permission slip to recognize that you are going to change, you are going to grow, you are going to evolve. And your definition of success, what feels fulfilling and impactful, what you value at any point in time, that's allowed to change too. Another lesson that I learned was that success isn't linear. And until this pivot happened, I really couldn't see how my puzzle pieces fit together. There's this intuitive spiritual side that has always been very gifted and loves tarot cards and crystals. And then there's this other side of me that there's like this corporate ambitious strategist with an MBA who like geeks out over spreadsheets and has delivered a massive transformation in the work that she's done. And then there's this other layer of me, the psychology nerd who's obsessed with mindset and peak performance habits. And definitely a multi-passionate and lifelong learner. But looking back, every detour, every redirection was just the universe pointing me to where it was meant to go, and that is to this place here. So while everything might have seemed random and haphazard at the time, and it was just me feeling my need to learn and grow and be curious, everything in hindsight came together to gel into something that was actually the way that it was meant to be. The next lesson that I want to share with you is that chasing external success will always leave you unfulfilled. You can chase the corner office, the salary, the car, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with those things. In fact, I think it's your birthright to experience these things. And we live in a 3D world where we do need external things. But if they're the only reason for you to do something, or if you're equating your identity to or tying your identity to those things, then they'll never fill you up, because true success is an inside-out job. And I feel so strongly about this that I'm going to do a separate episode on this lesson alone. Another lesson that I learned from my journey is that it's never too late to pivot. I was 42 when I started over. And before that, I also pivoted about 10 years or 12 years before that. I was 10 years into my healthcare professional life as a therapist. And I decided I just couldn't see myself doing this type of work for the rest of my life. And I kind of always knew that going in, but 10 years later, I felt like, okay, I've exhausted all the settings, the client populations. I love the work, but I feel like I've grown as much as I'm going to grow. I've certainly capped out of my salary, and it was too soon in my life to be counting days down to retirement. So I knew I needed to make a pivot. And that led me to moving into my parents' basement and taking out a student loan and doing a third degree. And so I pivoted when I was in my 30s. And then again, here we are in my 40s, this time making an unplanned pivot. So I want to really emphasize that it's never too late to pivot. Mentors and coaches and community really helped me along the way. So side note, if you are looking for a coach to support you through this, I'd love to have a chat with you, and you can get more information in the episode description. Another lesson that I want to share with you is that every part of you belongs. I used to think that being multi-passionate was almost a bit of a flaw because I was so scattered. I like doing all the different things. But in reality, it was fuel. Thing you've done, every skill, every interest, whether you're multi-passionate or not, informs your purpose. Nothing is wasted. So no matter what your pivot is, no matter what you're craving, you're not necessarily burning everything down and starting from scratch. You get to bring all that wisdom along with you for the journey. And the last lesson that I want to share with you about my soulful success journey is that it won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. When you chasing the external, traditionally derived version of success, you're always running, you're always chasing. And also it isn't easy, right? You're setting higher and higher goals for yourself and getting to them. With soulful success, it's a little bit different. It's more about following your calling. But just because you're following your calling or your passion, it doesn't necessarily mean that the road will be smooth. But the challenges, those are the things that shape you and they fuel you and they keep life from being boring. And they're things that are intrinsically validated by you. You believe in this so much that you can show up for it even when it feels tricky or hard. If everything came to us so easily, then we would be always bored. And that's not a fun way to live life either. So we need that challenge, and we need to know that we're doing a challenge in service of a greater thing. So many people I know might feel that, oh, if it's not easy, this is not meant to be my calling, or they tap out too early. And this is my PSA to just keep at it, just keep at it. And thinking back to that younger version of me, I knew back then that I wanted more. And I just didn't know what more was. That's why I did all the different things. But today, now, I do. I'm a best-selling author. Hay House, which is a global publishing company, has recognized my written work. I coach incredible humans from all walks of life. I have time and location freedom, and that was something I built with intention. And more importantly, I feel aligned and fulfilled in a way that no title or paycheck could ever give me. Because success isn't out there, it's in here. And when you redefine it for yourself, your life becomes a living testament to your vision and your service. So my friends, if you are feeling unfulfilled or craving more, it doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that you're ready for your next adventure. And if you are going through a pivot, I'm holding space for you too, because it's such a powerful time of transformation for you. If you are curious to go down this journey with me a little bit further today, there are 2 ways that I can help. One is the Ignite Your Light Summit. I mentioned that September 13th and 14th, I am hosting the next Ignite Your Light Summit. It's a 2-day virtual experience, and it is the reset that you're looking for. In just 2 days, you're going to reconnect with your spark, and you're going to hear from 6 incredible experts plus me. You'll get lifetime access and even a bonus coaching session to help integrate everything you learn. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can get information in the episode description. The Ignite Your Light Summit is going to be lit, and it's going to be where you get your spark back. But if you're looking for deeper work, then I invite you to consider my group coaching program, my flagship group coaching program called the Soulful Success Academy. And that's where we take this journey step by step. We redefine success, we build self-worth, we embody the life that you're meant to live, and so much more. The doors to Soulful Success Academy are opening very soon, but you can apply today and we can have a call and figure out if it's a good fit for you. So both links in the episode description. Before I sign off, friends, I will just once again say that if you've been craving more, trust that nudge, take that step, and redefine success on your own terms, because the life that you want isn't out there. It starts in here. So if you're feeling unfulfilled, you're craving more, it's because you got to come at it from the inside out. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you soon.